Welcome back to part 2 of a book of the beginnings, African origins of the Maori, by Gerald Massey around 1881 or onward. Okay, we're looking still to find if the Maori people actually originated from Africa, and it seems to be hinting through the language of the Egyptian, etc., that's where the language emanated from. That everything seems to have emanated from the Egyptians language, etc. I'm going to go back because here it was saying that some figures were found on Pitcairn Island. Okay, so maybe this Smith guy was actually correct where people poo-pooed him. He was actually correct about these certain figures that were found. Trying to find it again. No. Okay, from here, the Maori are accustomed to call the natives of the Hervey Islands, whoever that is, their elder brothers, and one name of Mangaya is O. This is a duplicate form of O. Don't know how you say it in the Egyptian. At least we made an attempt at it, which in Egyptian means the old one, the most ancient, and therefore the first, hence a title of dignity. In Maori, O, yeah, okay, O, or the old one, the old age. In Egyptian, in Maori, O, to lift or raise, has an earlier form in hapai, to lift up, raise, carry, begin. So in Egyptian, O or A'o, the ancient, has earlier forms in Af and Kef, who was primarily the old one born of As place Keb, or Kef abraded to O or A. I'm not sure on that one. The ancient place, the island rising up out of the waters. Is that the mound in the beginning of creation, where there was just water and suddenly this mound pops up and life began from there, according to the Egyptian creation myth? Not really sure. Sure on this. And it looks a hell of a lot like the Egyptians had their roots, their beginnings in the Assyrian, according to this book. What's this? Okay, what's this? Because someone made a comment of this in our comments before, saying that the Maori were Mauritanians. Let me just see something here. Mauritania might be a different type of people. Meroe in Ethiopia was due north from the equator, but reckoning from Central Africa or from Habesh, Abyssinia, we shall find the land of the ancient Maori. It's not the Maori, where people say Maori ora, Maori, you know, Maori bro, all that sort of stuff. Mauritania, these are like Mauritians, right? A different kind of people. Howsoever, the district was bounded at different times, was always to the northwest of our centre, which travels from the equator down to Lower Egypt. Thus we have a Maori, or Maori by look at it, or Maori, for the country northwestern Africa, answering to the Maori name of the northwest as Moru. It could be them. Originally, could be. We're just looking further to see if it actually is. Answering to the Maori name of the country northwest, Maori name of northwest as Mauru. Where are we? So they could have originated from Africa, okay, in this particular area. This name for a land lying northwest of the African centre, always reckoning from the south, would deposit the names of the Maori land, Marika, a duplicated form, and Morocco, as the Maori or Moors went farther north into Spain or Ctesiphon. Okay, so then again they could have been originating from the Moors, the Moorish people, those who first settled America, apparently, according to the real history. Not really sure on that one. From these and other data may be drawn the inference that the Maori people were self-named as the immigrants who came from the northwest, one name of which is Mauru, Egyptian Meru, Meroi, or the Meru. See, there you go. It goes back to the Egyptians, possibly back to the Egyptians again. The Egyptian Meru. Okay, it could have originated from there. Meroi, or the Meru. The Maori name is that of the later Moors of a land under the Tropic of Cancer and northwest of the equator, as well as of Ethiopia, the typical birthplace. And the names of the Moors found on the Egyptian monuments is written Maori or Maurui, if that's how you say it. The original Maori dwelt in a northwestern land lying between the Atlantic and Mediterranean, and their name is identified with that of the Maori, whose traditions derive them from the northwest. So that's possibly their origins there. Okay, they came from the Mauru, and in the language the author signifies from, so that the people from Mauru would be the Maurui or Maori. They came from Kapi Kapi and Kep Kep. Nubia is the primitive plural for Kept. The Hervey Islanders came from Tiu or Ati, the worn down form of Kepti. The Nook Hevans came from Utopu or Ethiopia. So is that where we get the word Utopia from? Not really sure. These names are sufficient to identify the ancestral land from which the migrations went, as claimed in their traditions and proclaimed in their songs. According to Diodorus Siculus, the Egyptians declared they had sent forth many expeditions and established colonies in diverse parts of the world in times of the remotest antiquity. These would issue forth at different stadia of the African development and from diverse regions of the country, with sufficient initial divergence between the varieties to account for the difference developed in the Australians. For example, in the Maori or Tasmanian wild man, the black men and the brown men of today. At least three such stages are marked by the Oratai Mestraians, who were there, and Ruti of the old Egyptian chronicle. The Araitai, Ephratai or Kefratai name takes the people back to inner Africa and identifies them with the blacks and the people who name Kush and Habesh as their north, so that could be Ethiopia. The Mestraians are midway towards Egypt, and here the westward course will be taken into the Maori land. The Ruti are the people of Egypt known to us. They are, as the name implies, and the complexion shows, a form of the red men. Thus we have the range from black to red with a variety of intermediate hues, which afterwards deposited distinct types, all traceable at home. A tribe of natives found in Australia still call themselves the Kemites. Kemet in Maori signifies to stretch out, pull out, draw away to a distance. Maru is the name of the sail. Kamu, Egyptian, means to let drop, to let fall an arm or branch, to transfer peacefully. The old rowers are sailors who would drop from the parent stem and had to range out vast distances from the ancestral land, and transferring themselves were the Kumi or Kumites. The identity of the names for boat and body has been referred to. A body of men is, in a Polynesian form, a boatful, the boat itself being a poti in Maori. The boatload was a body of immigrants, and as such would offer a type name for the clan, tribe, or genes. Was that generations? Now in Maori, the canoe is called a waka, even today. And the waka is the primary division, which is subdivided into iwis and hapus. Or rather, the territory claimed by each waka is subdivided into districts, each of which is claimed by an iwi, the iwis and hapus being named from ancestors. The waka is the Egyptian kaka, a canoe. Okay. So it could have dual meanings, waka, canoe, and waka, type name for clans, tribes, or generations. That came from that particular canoe, off that particular canoe, maybe. Okay, so look down here, see if there's any more here. What's this? The description should be read with globe, maybe it's above the description here, should be read with globe and atlas at hand. Then it will be seen that the position of the Maori land in Africa is northwest of the equator toward the Atlantic coast. Now in the second edition only of Te Ika a Maui by Reverend Richard Taylor, page 702, second edition 1870, there are some figures designated a specimen of a lost language. These were recovered from Pitcairn's Island, a small lonely rock 1 mile wide and 2.25 miles long at the southeastern corner of the great Polynesian archipelago, etc., etc. So that George Smith, where he is pooh-poohed by his peers, fellow historians, may have been correct, because he found, well, that specimen was, or those figures were found on Pitcairn Island. Okay, it's just giving you the latitude, the altitude, etc. on a globe, on a map. It is the island upon which the mutineers of the ship Bounty landed and lived, amongst whom we may be sure there was no Egyptologist. This is a fair copy of the characters, which are here paralleled with some Egyptian hieroglyphics taken from those drawn by Bonomi and printed for the purpose of comparison. Here they are here. Hieroglyphics found in Pitcairn's Island. So they found hieroglyphs or something similar, right? Here's the Egyptian hieroglyphs, so I guess this is a comparison. Okay. Rudely drawn as they are, the characters are unmistakably Egyptian hieroglyphics. The solar disk, the so-called, don't know if they actually, it's pronounced as cake or kake or something, sake, I don't know. The ideograph of land habitation dwelling placed across the 5-rayed star, the eye or spur sign, the bow, the reversed half moon, the ka, the vaginal sign of the birthplace. These are all Egyptian, or there, howsoever they may be interpreted. It will be observed that the straight line ascending from left to right quaintly crosses a small globe which is one pole cut off. This is our starting point, and so forth. Were they not known to the author as, or the writer as, an Egyptian hieroglyph? It is found on sculptured stones, which is hourglass sign. At the upper end of the line is the well-known hourglass sign, right? Of the equinox, although not known to the writer or the author, Gerald Massey, as an Egyptian hieroglyphic, it is found on the sculptured stones. It is also the Chinese sign for number 5, an equivalent of one hand. The first hand reckoned upon was the left, etc., etc. So that's pretty interesting. More information here. Okay, just looking through it, see anything of interest there. It says here, Egypt was parent of the initial unity in language, arts, laws, religion, and in our English tongue. It appears dreamable that mankind may ultimately obtain the final unity of the universal race. But is it not possible for this new great green tree to extend a little shelter to the old, fast decaying races that sprang originally from the same rootage? The Kafirs, the Red Indians, this is like Muslim, the Kafirs, South African racist term is Kafirs, which they derive from the Arabic or the Muslims. The Red Indians, the Maori, are withering underneath its shadow, and our tree of life is for them the fabled upas, found at last is the tree of death, etc., etc. What's this? Is our final message delivered to them by the typical militant Christian with a Bible in one hand and a sword in the other to be, believe what we tell you about this book, probably talking about the Bible, be saved at once and pass off peaceably into another life, as there is no room for you in this, and the white earth devourers are daily hungering more and more to eat up your ever-lessening lands at last. So were they being racist and saying, well, you know, you shouldn't really be here, there's no room here, there's no place for you on this earth, get lost, okay? And the white earth devourers are daily hungering more and more to eat up your ever-lessening lands at last. Possess them, right? Sounds like it. Okay, we're quick to want your lands. We're going to take it off you, steal it off you by any means. Maybe it's hinting at that, not really sure on that one. Going to go back a bit. So yeah, looks like the Maori had roots in Africa. Where is the Mauritians? So look at the Mauritians, how you spell that? M-A-U-R-I-T-I-A-N-S. I think that's how you spell it. Where did they originate from? Where actually is this place? Okay, Mauritius, Mauritian Creole, officially the Republic of Mauritius, is an island nation in the Indian Ocean, about 2,000 kilometers off the south coast of the African continent, east of Madagascar. It includes the main island, also called Mauritius. Okay. Who are they? Obviously African, but they have, okay, Mauritians in Australia. Okay, not really giving us great detail about them. So some island in the Indian Ocean, 2,000 kilometers off the southeast coast of the African continent. Okay, let's have a look here. Creoles, what are they? Okay, some sort of black race, dark race. Okay. Indo-Mauritians, seen from Indian immigrants. Okay, demographics, diaspora, That's when they were spread out, scattered. The Mauritian diaspora consists of Mauritian immigrants and their descendants in various countries around the world, mainly France, Great Britain, United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand and Canada, Ireland and Belgium. And that's about all they got on it. And it's all the people on Mauritius. So these people originally were African. Okay, as you saw in that picture, that lady looked very African. But they could be not the indigenous, original indigenous, but those who immigrated there or were taken there by force as slaves or were already there, as like the Mohammedans, the Muslims, invaded land, established their religion, etc., and then claimed to be the original inhabitants of that land since day dot, when historically they weren't the original indigenous peoples in many cases. Where is that place? Mauritius. Can we have a look at that again? Wonder where it is on a map. Okay, it's not going there for some reason. It was slow. Okay. African island in the Indian Ocean. Arab sailors were the first to discover the uninhabited island around 975, and they called it Dina Arobi. The earliest confirmed discovery was in 1507 by Portuguese sailors who otherwise took little interest in the islands. The Dutch took possession in 1598, establishing a succession of short-lived settlements over a period of 120 years before abandoning the efforts in 1710. Okay, where is that? Okay, not to be confused with Mauritania, an Islamic officially the Islamic Republic of Mauritania is a sovereign state in northwest Africa. It is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the west. So Mauritania is in Africa. Where is this one? Island nation in the Indian Ocean, off the southeast coast of Africa continent, east of Madagascar, and so forth. So there may be two. There's Mauritius and Mauritania. This is it's confusing. Yeah, but Arab sailors were the first to discover the uninhabited island of Mauritius. Nobody on it. Around 975, and they called it Dina Arobi. And then the Portuguese sailors found it, took a little interest in it, and the Dutch took possession of it by the looks of it for 120 years, and then they abandoned their efforts in 1710. France took control in 1715, renaming it Ile de France. Part of the French Colonial Empire. So not too sure if there's nobody on there, then it doesn't look like the Maori came from there. And maybe it's the other one. They came from this one. Where is it? No. Mauritania. Let's have a look at that. Okay, then the Mohammedans or Islam took over it. The official religion is Islam, and almost all inhabitants are Sunni Muslims. Despite its pervading Arab identity, Mauritanian societies are multi-ethnic. The Bidhan, or so-called white Moors, make up 30% of the population, while the Haratan, or so-called black Moors, comprise 40%. Both groups reflect a fusion of Arab-Berber ethnicity, language and culture. The remaining 30% of the population comprises various sub-Saharan ethnic groups. It's a poor island. Its economy is based primarily on agriculture, livestock and fishing. It's known for its poor human rights records, most notably the continued practice of slavery, a result of a historical caste system between the Bidhan and Haratan. It was the last country in the world to abolish slavery in 1981 and criminalised it only in 2007. Okay. The term Mauritania in turn derives from the Greek and Roman exonym. An endemin is a common native name for a geographical place or group of people, individual person, language or dialect, meaning that it is used inside that particular place, group or linguistic community in question. It is their self-designated name for themselves, etc. For the Berber peoples of the region, the Maori people, Mauri, was the Latin designation for the Berber population of Mauritania, located in the part of North Africa west of Numidia, in present-day northern Morocco and northwestern Algeria. So they were Africans. Which flourished into the 7th century AD. However, the two territories do not overlap. Historical Mauritania was considerably further north than modern Mauritania. See the difference in spelling? Very different in spelling. Two different areas. One further up than the one further south, or whatever, as it was spread out along the entire west half of the Mediterranean coast of Africa. The word Maori is also the root of the name for Moors, the Moors. Christian Europeans to designate the Muslim inhabitants of the Maghreb, the Iberian Peninsula, Sicily and Malta during the Middle Ages. The term Moors initially referred to the indigenous Maghreb. So they were Berber. Ancient tribes of Mauritania were Berber, or Niger-Congo, and Bafur peoples, or Bafur. Interesting. So there's no evidence here that the Maori came from there. It's not hinting at it. There's a possibility. Probably not here, or possibly not the other one. Mauritius, not the other one, Mauritius, but that one, Mauritania, which is more inland in Africa, whereas the other is off the coast of Africa and then in the Indian Ocean, okay, which was found abandoned. There's nobody on it. Okay. So that one's in the Indian Ocean, and this one's actually in Africa, but it was originally further up north by the information in these on these websites. So where is it on the map? Okay, right there. Islands of the Republic of Mauritius, excluding Chagos Archipelago and Chamberlain Island. Whereas the other was somewhere in Africa. Okay. What is this? Okay. Okay, so not too sure on that one, but it's definitely hinting in this book by Gerald Massey that the Maori, the indigenous people of Aotearoa or New Zealand, had origins in Egypt, Africa, Egypt, etc. The origins before they branched out or migrated and became residents of the South Pacific, etc., etc. That's what it looks like. Oh, this is really interesting. Kind of complicated, kind of confusing at times, but you'd have to spend a lot of time actually reading this book extensively, okay, to verify that's where they actually came from. Africa. What's this here? Okay, because here it's got where's up? Way up here somewhere. We shall find the land of the ancient Maori, Mauritania. Howsoever, the district was bounded at different times, was always to the northwest of our centre, which travels from the equator down to Lower Egypt. Thus we have a Maori for the country northwestern Africa, answering to the Maori name of the northwestern as Mauru. This shifts the duality of Meru or Meru from north and south to north and west, just as it was shifted when the binder or the hinder part west was called Kemet, as a place going down instead of the north. That's obviously Egyptian. This name for a land lying northwest of the African centre, always reckoning from the south, would deposit the names of the Maori land, America, a duplicated form, and Morocco, as the Maori or Moors went farther north into Spain or Cephon. From these and other data may be drawn the inference that the Maori people were self-named as the immigrants who came from the northwest, one name of which is Mauru, Egyptian Meru, Merui, or the Meru. The Maori name is that of the later Moors, a land under the Tropic of Cancer and northwest of the equator, as well as of Ethiopia, the typical birthplace, and the name of the Moors found on the Egyptian monuments is written Maori or Maurui. The original Maori dwelt in the northwestern land lying between the Atlantic and Mediterranean, and their name is identifiable with that of the Maori, whose traditions derive them from the northwest. So they could have been people in Egypt. Yes? They could have been peoples who dwelled in Egypt. They came from the Mauru, and in their language it signifies from. I don't know if that's an I or it. Don't know. The language signifies from, so that the people from Maori would be the Maurui or Maori. They came from Kapi Kapi and Kep, Nubia. Kapi Kapi and Kep. Nubia is the primitive plural for Kepti. That's in Egypt. Right? That's of Egypt. The Herve Islanders came from Atu or Ati, the worn down form of Kemet. The Nuka heathens came from Ethiopia or Ethiopia. Okay. And they did do vast expeditions. So yeah, as you can see through this particular video and the one before it, it's all Egyptian origin. Okay, African Egyptian origin. You'd have to get hold of this book and read it for yourself in your own time, at your own leisure, right? And fully understand it, to find any words you don't understand, with a dictionary with at least 3 different meanings, etc., etc. So you don't have any misunderstandings, wrong understandings, misunderstandings, etc., etc. Taking things out of context. Aha, we'll get to go back one page. What's this? There is an ideograph of the 2 Egypts. Maybe it's here. The original of what is known as the Greek border pattern, which reads Meri or Merui. It is the visible sign of lower and upper, or Me, north, so that must be like upper, and it's lower. It's north, that's south. It is the visible sign of lower and upper, or Me, north, the abyss. It's like a pit, right? Deep dark pit. And Meru, horizon and steps, and it is feasible that the name of Tamrey is the land of Meru. So this is Egyptian. If you listen to or go look at Shaka Amos's rants, his speeches, etc., they use the name ancient Kemet, or what it sounded like to us, Tamrey, but they're actually saying Tamrey is the land of Meru, where it's Meru, and the ancient Maui was once the capital of 2 Egypts under this name. The first lower and upper were north and south, but the Maori is north and west, and this is in keeping with the Me, north, and the Ru is the horizon west. Meroe in Ethiopia was due north from the equator, but reckoning from Central Africa or from Habesh, Abyssinia, we shall find the land of the ancient Maori, Mauritania. Howsoever, the district was bounded at different times, was always toward northwest of our centre, which travels from the equator down to Lower Egypt. Thus we have a Maori for the country northwest in Africa, answering to the Maori name of the northwest as Mauru. This shifts the duality of Meru or Meru from north and south to north and west, just as it was shifted when the hinder part was called Kept, as the place of going down instead of the north. The name for the land lying northwest of the African centre, always reckoning from the south, would deposit the names of the Maori land, Mamerika, a duplicated form. Yeah, it's copied, it's duplicated. Form, and Morocco, we spell it Morocco. Here it's got Morocco, as the Maori or Moors went farther north into Spain or Ctesiphon. So we may have been the Moors. Okay, but they're all Egyptian. Okay, all Egyptian originating, or African originating. And the name is that of the later Moors of a land under the Tropic of Cancer, northwest of the equator, and so forth. They came from the Mauru, and in their language signifies that the people from Mauru would be kept be the Mauri or Maori. Okay, so hopefully you found that interesting. We're still a little confused, but we'll have to look at it again. Okay, and again to fully understand it, for it to sink into the brain, you know, sit in the subconscious. So hopefully you liked this video and it didn't confuse you too much, but give you an idea of where the indigenous people, the Maori, actually originated from. Yeah, they originated from a certain peoples, be it in North Africa somewhere, or from Egypt itself. So we say, why would they be speaking Paleo-Hebrew or Palestinian Hebrew if it's all pointing to African or Egyptian origin? So they wouldn't be Hebrews or Israelites or slaves of their exodus and so forth, but people who went into Egypt as the Moors and became the Mauru, or Mauru, Egyptian Meru, or the Meru, and then later their name changed to Maori, okay, when they became the later Moors. Yeah, okay, so we're going to leave it there. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments down below. We'll get back to you on those as soon as we can, as soon as possible. And then go share it with all your whānau, your family, your friends, neighbours, etc.